Daniel 11:6. The USSR and Gamal Nasser relationship, and Sadat breaks ties with the USSR. And in the end of years they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. But she shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. Undoubtedly, the term "in the end of years" is a reference to the end times. It is the same Hebrew word used in verse 27, 35, 40, and 45 of this chapter. End is the Strong's number 7093, Kates, contracted from an extremity, adverbially with the prepositional prefix after. The extremity of years, the end times, Daniel 8:17, 19, 23, and Daniel 10:14. Here the word join is Strong's number 82266, kabar, a prime root, to join literal or figuratively, specifically by means of spells to fascinate. Daughter, H1323, bath, from H1129 as a feminine of H1121, a daughter used in the same wide sense as the terms of relationship, literally and figuratively. Daughter or woman in prophecy is translated as a church, religion, or belief, political or religious. You can look at Revelation 12 and Revelation 17 and many other scriptures. In this case, it means a political belief and political values. Certainly the word agreement is H4339, meshar, from H3474, evenness. That is to say, figuratively, prosperity or concord, also straightness. That is to say, figuratively, rectitude, only in plural with singular sense, often adverb. Thus, and according to the Companion Bible, page 1202, the term "to make an agreement" means to do upright things. That is to say, to come to terms upon what is equitable between the parties, or actually two parties. Also see verse 17. South, of course, is H5045, Negev, from an unused root meaning to be parsed, the south from its drought, to be hot, a dry, a vast desert. Think of the Islamic world and its values. North is H6828, Safon, from H6845, properly hidden, that is to say dark, used only of the north as quarter, gloomy and unknown. Think of secrecy, think of conspiracy or having a secret dark agenda. Note, the south and the north are roles and not necessarily assigned to a specific entity, nation, or individual. Excuse me. Hence, as the chapter advances, these roles will be played by different entities or nations. Now we're going to talk about Gamal Nasser. Egyptian President Gamal Nasser, the king of the south, is credited for being the first leader of an Arab nation to challenge what was viewed as Western dominance in the Middle East. As a result, Nasser favored and leaned towards the Soviet Union and socialism, connecting or associating Western capitalism with imperialism. Not only did he do his best to restore national pride in Egypt, but also to all Arab nations. Nasser raised the standards of education and promoted Arab culture and Arab pride. A type of Arab Renaissance called al-Nada, meaning awakening, of which Nasser was responsible for, encouraged a combination of patriotism and tolerance, religious belief and rationalism, freedom and reformism. And in the end of years, they shall join themselves together, for the king's daughter of the south shall come to the king of the north to make an agreement. In the early 50s, Russia supported anti-Americanism and sentiment and became hostile towards Israel. During this time, there was a rise of Arab nationalism, which was supported by the Soviet Union. Gamal Nasser, king of Egypt, the south, went to the Soviet Union, the north, for aid in developing the country. In 1956, Nasser seized control of the Suez Canal from Britain and France, which provoked an attack by British and French forces. Such attack was condemned and not supported by the U.S. Thus Britain and France had to withdraw. In seizing the canal, Nasser's plan was to construct a dam that would hold back the mighty waters of the Nile and would provide hydroelectric power to Egypt. Because of Nasser's anti-Western views, asking the United States, which was pro-Israel, for help in such project was not politically feasible. Subsequently, Nasser turned to the Soviet Union, which in turn provided 400 technicians and engineers and the capital for such a massive construction. As a result, the Suez Crisis helped develop a close relationship between Egypt, a Muslim nation, the South, and Russia, a communist nation, the North, especially after the International Bank of Reconstruction and Development had withdrawn its financial support for the project after 1956. Anwar el-Sadat breaks ties with the USSR, but he shall not retain the power of the arm, neither shall he stand nor his arm, but she shall be given up, and they that brought her, and he that begat her, and he that strengthened her in these times. Upon Nasser's death, which was largely mourned and widely felt among the Arab world, Anwar el-Sadat was named active president on September 28, 1978, and was elected president on October 15. Early in Anwar el-Sadat's presidency, he sought to bring a peaceful negotiation with Israel by endorsing a proposal to bring peace with Israel on the basis of Israel withdrawing back to its borders prior to the 1967 Six-Day War, which was a decisive victory for Israel. Sadat felt that the only significant threat perceived by Israel from Egypt was the immense presence of Soviet equipment and the thousands of Soviets in the land of Egypt, which was very uncomfortable to Sadat and the Egyptian people. Sadat and his military leaders resented such a strong presence of Russians, which was in no wise diminishing, but was making Egypt more like a land base for Russia to launch military operations. Feeling that the presence of the Soviet Union was counterproductive to achieve peace and for the benefit of his country, Sadat, in the summer of 1972, broke off, divorced, gave up relations with Russia, and expelled thousands of Soviet technicians and military advisors from the country and proceeded to ramp up his army for another offensive against Israel. As a result of the failure of his initial peace proposal, Sadat, in coordination with Syria, launched an attack on Israel to retake the territory taken by Israel in the Six-Day War of 1967. This attack was known as the Yom Kippur War of 1973. Even though Israel emerged as the victor with its counteroffensive, Sadat gained tremendous prestige as the first Arab leader to have actually taken back land from Israel, leaving a feeling of psychological vindication to the Arab world after the loss of the War of 67. Sadat proved to the world that he was committed for peace, insomuch that he was willing to go to war to achieve it, no matter the cost or sacrifice. Furthermore, by his surprise attack, he demonstrated to Israel that not only was Egypt a formidable foe, but that peace with Egypt was necessary. Despite the fact that the Soviet Union supplied Egypt during the Yom Kippur War, which threatened to wreck detente, Egypt, which had already started to drift away from the Soviet Union in 1972, gradually left Soviet influence almost completely after the war. Under Anwar Sadat, Egypt shifted from pro-Soviet to pro-American or pro-Western values. Thus, the daughter of anti-Western values and anti-Americanism was given up. This dramatic change paved the way for peace negotiations with Israel. But his pro-American views were considered by many Arabs as a betrayal to Islam. In 1977, Anwar el-Sadat made a surprising announcement about his desires and willingness for peace with Israel. Sadat said that he was ready to go to the end of the world, even to the Knesset, in search of peace. With his historical trip to Jerusalem, Sadat became the first major Arab leader to officially visit Israel when he met with Israeli Prime Minister Menachem Begin and introduced his plan for peace before the Israeli parliament, or the Knesset. Despite the fact that this visit was strongly opposed by the Arab world and the Soviet Union, it began a series of diplomatic series that led to the signing of the Camp David Accords on September 17, 1978, which negotiations were facilitated by President Jimmy Carter. As a result, it normalized relations between Egypt and Israel. In addition, it was the first time Israel was recognized as a legitimate state by an Arab country. Anwar el-Sadat and Menachem Begin were awarded the Nobel Prize for Peace in 1978. Furthermore, their continued political negotiations brought the signing of the Egyptian-Israeli Peace Treaty on March 26, 1979 in Washington, D.C., which was strongly condemned and extremely unpopular in the Arab and Muslim world. Even though Sadat's popularity rose in the West, this treaty resulted in Egypt being expelled from the Arab League in 1979, and the League moving its headquarters from Cairo to Tunis. Many non-Egyptian Arabs felt that Sadat's pro-American shift was a betrayal to the Arab Muslim world. During a military parade on October 6, 1981, commemorating the Yom Kippur War, Anwar el-Sadat was assassinated by Islamic extremists, which regarded him as a traitor to Islam and condemned the signing of the peace treaty with Israel.